So, I've got a problem. Lately, I've been extremely focused on self-discipline. I feel like that's like a theme for me this year. I've been so focused on the idea of just keep going and being diligent because that's what's going to make me the happiest. I love the constant routine. I love how I can make these small steps towards progress every day. But that really makes me realize those moments throughout the day where I stop and think to myself, you know what, whatever I'm doing, this isn't productive, and that can be so many different things. And no matter what, time after time, I just find myself battling these small addictions throughout the day or the week. Now, before I get into a rather serious topic of addictions, let me give you a little context as to what I'm talking about. I'm not proclaiming these major life altering addictions that will kill me over time. These are more like dependencies that prevent me from being my best that I've noticed within the last few weeks. And a huge part of self discipline is sacrificing kind of like the easy way out. Um, for what I would, how I take it is for the greater good, right? What do I need to give up in order to do my best or accomplish any of my goals that I've set out? For example, I wake up and I hit the snooze button for 5 minutes. Instantly, like, I'm filled with almost a sense of guilt because of that. And from there, I can talk myself into getting up and starting my day. But I always hit that button no matter what. I always hit it. Or how about even like the countless times I'm checking my phone throughout the day for absolutely no reason? I'm catching myself slip throughout the day, and I'm just realizing that I have some of these really crazy addictions that I've never really thought about so much. So today I'm going to call out 5 addictions, and maybe taking the time to kind of flesh them out will hopefully allow me to help prevent them in the future or just help me say no more often. But here we go. So, first, social media. Now, working in social media, I know how horribly enslaving some of these platforms are. They're just designed to suck you in and keep you there. And when you're not on them, you feel like you're missing out in a sense. There's a sense of FOMO, right? You don't know what you're missing out. You don't know what people are doing until that is this little notification bings on your phone and you are instantly just reeled back in. I think I have 6 total different social media like accounts or brands logged into my phone. And almost constantly, I'm just getting these notifications, and I can't silence them because I mean, my job requires me to look at them. My job requires me to respond to different comments, check DMs, post daily, and just different ways of engaging with these brands. So my phone is just endlessly lighting up. And sometimes I even think I'll hear a notification or feel like a vibration in my pocket, and I come to bring it out and it was nothing. It was all on my mind. And that's how like in tuned I am with wanting to just always check my phone. I used to wear an Apple Watch, but I stopped because I just couldn't focus at all day to day. I would just constantly get these reminders, not only these Instagram reminders, but it take a deep breath, or like I don't need a reminder to breathe. I'm sorry, I just don't. Or stand up. And it's like I don't want to stand up right now. I'd obviously be standing if I wanted to stand up. And it's just a constant, it was constant. I mean, this is just like an exercise that I would do every single day. But now I don't have to do it. But yeah, I'll find myself getting ready in the morning, and after every single task, I'm picking up my phone and checking it. Uh, Getting home from the gym, I'm looking at my phone. After the shower, I'm looking at my phone. After making coffee, I'm looking at my phone. After brushing my teeth, I'm looking at my phone. And I know just how insane this is. And it's just, I'm constantly looking at emails, notifications for Instagram or Twitter things, or just any crazy thing. And none of the stuff really involves like me personally. A lot of it is just like work notifications or just random notifications from these profiles trying to get me on the profile. But yeah, none of it's really like about me, like like messages to me, really. Like I don't have this all of these people trying to talk to me. It's just work. But I understand how insane this is. So lately, I've been putting my phone face down, and as I reach for it, there's a moment of there's nothing to see. Like you just checked it. Don't look at your phone. And just doing this small task has really just allowed me to check it less frequently, because having it right side up is just, for me, it's a free pass for you to see this little notification light up in your peripherals, and you're just like, there's no way you're not going to look at it. I need to constantly see what it is. Now, one of the worst parts about social media is how fast time goes by when you're on it. You can definitely say to yourself, let me just hop on for a minute, see what's going on, like see what's happening, see, like answer this quick message or whatever it is. And before you know it, 10 to 15 minutes have passed, and it's a momentary escape from the day. And until you're like brought back into reality, you're like, oh shit, like how much time really just passed? And that's just it's a really shitty feeling. You never really feel good after spending so much time on your phone or on social media. You never feel like you've accomplished something afterwards. You just feel like you've wasted time. And for me, like the same thing kind of really goes for video games. I used to spend hours throughout the week playing video games. But afterward, I would be like, what the fuck what did I just accomplish? Sure, like I leveled up, I had a few good games, I got a new skin or whatever it was, but there was no actual benefit of me spending time like that. I think it's definitely fine to use it as a tool of relaxation, or like I said, like an escape. But at what point are you crossing the line between relaxation and addiction? Like how often are you really doing this? What's it really preventing you from accomplishing? And so yeah, back to social media. I think social media and phone usage is just in general just becoming a really big problem in society. Like next time you're driving, just pay attention to how many people are actually on their phones, and you'll be shocked. It's low-key kind of crazy just how obsessed we all are with this constant refresh of content. And I can't judge anyone. Like I'm right there with them. I'm glued to my phone, and it's almost ironic because it's actually, I'm really bad at like texting people. I'll leave people on red, like with no response for days. And it's just because I'm getting all of these notifications, and I'm constantly sidetracked to check these other things that I don't go back to these messages, right? And it's just a constant battle of like, I'm so hyper focused on so many different things. So if you're one of those people texting me, I'm sorry. I promise you it's not personal. I know it's rude. I acknowledge that. But I'm just incredibly, yeah, like hyperactive. I just have a very short attention span, and so many other things just like get in the way. But I think that's a kind of perfect segue into addiction number 2, and that is people pleasing. I hate that I am just such a people pleaser. I will do so many things that I don't want to do because I just can't say no, and I'll have a sense of guilt. The only person I don't care about saying no to is my fiance, and it drives her crazy. I'll tell her no all day. I'll tell her no about anything. Like, no, we're not doing that. No, I don't want to do that. And she's actually noticed this before and has said something to me like, you say yes to everyone else, and you can only say no to me, right? But deep down, I think it's because I love her, and I know that I can really be myself around her. It's very unfortunate for her, yes, but I'm comfortable with her. I'm just, that is. And everyone else, I'm just like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do that. Of course, I'll do it. And I'm just saying yes to everything, not realizing like how much finite time I really have within a day or a week. But I don't know why I'm always kind of setting out to please people. But when I have to say no, it's just this horrible feeling that I'd rather undergo a situation where I'm unhappy and I could be doing something more beneficial with my time if I just told them no, but I just say yes, you know? Now, I actually looked into this a bit, and Medical News Today lists some ways to stop people pleasing. So I'm going to go through a couple of them for us. The first is start small. Begin by committing to meeting one need at a time, right? That's always a good idea. Let's focus on the task at hand. Number two, stalling. When someone makes a request, try allowing for some time to think about it rather than answering immediately. Now, this is good in theory, but because I didn't respond to the text message 2 days ago, now I already feel a sense of guilt, and because of that I can't stall anymore, and I just say yes. I just can't. I'm already at a disadvantage there. So if I responded faster, yes, this would be a good one as well. Next one, setting time limits. When saying yes to something, include a limit or a deadline. For example, yeah, I got to be home by 6 though. It's great. Little white lies never hurt anyone, right? Another one, time blocking. This is very big. We use this a lot at work, but blocking out time in the day that is off limits to everyone else. For example, if I'm working on a project, or let's say like a YouTube video or something, no one else can bother me within that time. I can't be pulled away from it. It just helps you kind of focus on the task at hand. And finally, rehearsing no. In many situations, there are tactful and empathetic ways to say no. Will I try any of these? No, probably not. Until I one day get too busy to physically take on any extra activity, I will most likely say yes to almost anything. So if you need something, I'm your guy for it. I'll probably just be too guilt tripped into saying no. So ask me anything. Addiction number 3, one of my favorites, the good old Mary Jane, marijuana, cannabis, weed. Now, although my family thinks I am just this huge, huge stoner, I'm really not. I'm typically like only smoking at night or after dinner. I don't smoke every night, but most nights I will smoke because it's calming and relaxing, and it helps me kind of like wind down my day. Now listen to me, right? This instantly sounds like an addict, right? Denial is the first step. I don't need it, but I need to have it. Yeah. But in all seriousness, I catch myself like driving home after like a long day of work, for example, and just being stressed out and thinking to myself like, man, I can't wait to get home and just fucking light up and unwind, right? Like it's going to make me feel so much better. And it's not a huge deal if I like run out of weed or end up not smoking, but there's this yearning for this sense of relaxation that I get from smoking weed. And I recognize that this is a vice, and I rely on it to sleep, and I rely on it to think creatively, and ideally I would not like to be so reliant on it, because I don't know. It's difficult because in my opinion, it's helping me accomplish my goals. Like, yes, that's a good thing. It helps me to write a little bit more freely for this podcast. It allows me the opportunity to kind of stop overthinking my anxiety-ridden brain at night and help me get some sleep at a reasonable hour. But at the same time, I guess I'm justifying my consumption, because if I ask myself, well, am I as productive without it? I really don't know. But the idea of just needing an external source to kind of find some relief is just not healthy in my opinion. And I don't like that I am reverting. I don't like that I'm kind of going to this thinking of, oh, I can't wait for this sense of relaxation that I'm going to get, because it just takes me out of the moment. But there is another drug of choice that I prefer much more heavily to weed, and that is caffeine. And boy, do I love the buzz that I get from caffeine. Most days, at minimum, I need a cup of coffee in the morning and some type of caffeine boost in the afternoon, probably around like 1 to 3 p.m. Whether that's a Red Bull, a coffee, an espresso, whatever it is vital to me to be productive, or at least in a good mood throughout the rest of the day. On a typical day, I'll drink 1 cup of coffee and maybe 2 to 3 double espressos. Now, That may not sound like a lot to some people. I know people who just like slam down pots and pots of coffee in a day. This one David Grohl book I just listened to actually from the Foo Fighters, he talks a lot about coffee and his addiction to coffee and caffeine, and it's kind of funny because I related to it. But he was throwing out lots and lots and pots of coffee, and he actually went to the doctor and he thought he was having a heart attack at one point. But I love coffee, I really do. I make a pour over most days. I buy like fancy beans at Mothership Coffee, and I invest in it. Right? It it's a sense of something that I really care about, and a hobby that I like to invest in. But at the same time, I do understand like the weed thing. It's something that I'm relying on externally just to really get me through, and my tolerance is just slowly increasing. I could easily drink an espresso or a cup of coffee and just go right to sleep. Like it almost does nothing. I could get myself to that point where I could just fall asleep right after. Now, most mornings I won't have my cup of coffee until after I go to the gym, and which is a good thing, I think. Like I'm not instantly waking up and needing this caffeine. I'm going at least 90 minutes, I would say, without my first cup. I'll wake up at the gym at like 6 a.m. and then my first cup of coffee will be around like 8:30, 8:45. And I swear to God, though, some mornings I could be at a red light and close my eyes for a second, and I have a thought where I could be like, I could go to sleep right now if before I drink the coffee. I am so tired before I drink my coffee. And like I said, I do think it's a good thing that I wait to kind of consume that first cup. And I'm really focusing on my water intake right now. I'm trying to drink as much water as I can. I know this sounds like a classic, basic white girl problem, but I want to drink water. I want to focus on it. It's a real problem for me, right? I don't drink a lot of water, so now I've been trying to drink like 4 to 5 of these hydro flasks a day. But that's just on weekdays, of course. On weekends, it's just a free for all. But on my weekends, sometimes I won't drink my first cup of coffee until like I don't know, like 10 a.m. and immediately I just get this horrible headache. And I've struggled with headaches and migraines my whole life, but my body just needs this caffeine boost, or I'm battling just a severe headache all day. And most of my life, I'm just popping Excedrin, like Tic Tacs, to get rid of these headaches, which have, I believe, like I think it's like 60, 65 milligrams of caffeine per pill. I always take two. So that's not helping the situation either. But in regard to like real addictions, I'd say like this one is probably the worst for me. If I don't get some form of caffeine in my system by 10 a.m., it really is a rough day. And it's the most immediate where I can just feel a reaction in my body, I guess. And obviously, there are so many worse things to be addicted to, right? There's sugar, there's other bad drugs, there's, I don't know, shopping. It sounds horrible and expensive. But like I said, I don't like to be dependent on these external vices. It really bothers me for some reason, and I've been focusing on that a lot lately just because I know it's not healthy, but I'm kind of justifying it by saying, "Oh, it's helping me be more productive, it's helping me reach my goals." And maybe if I stopped drinking so much caffeine, I wouldn't need the weed at night to like calm me down. So, but I don't know. Let me tackle one problem at a time, right? I'd say in the last year though, or at least the last few months. Yeah, not the last year. I'd say in the last few months, I've been kind of just focusing on this caffeine intake of mine. And at one point, I was drinking like, God, I don't know, 4 to 6 Red Bulls a week, in addition to the coffee. That was like my 3 p.m. Instead of a coffee, I'd just go get a Red Bull. And lately, I've been more strict with myself, sticking with the coffee. I understand that's not much better, but it's a step in the right direction. It's like the people pleasing things. You got to start small, right? You got to make that little small effort, and eventually we're gonna get there. All right, finally, we've made it to addiction number 5. We've covered social media, people pleasing, weed, caffeine, and next is time. I've kind of touched on this before in a previous podcast, but I obsess over time. It's completely just consumes my thoughts. How much time will it take to do this? How much time do we have left? If I leave now, what time will I get there? Maybe it's because I'm so fucking hyped up on caffeine, but I don't know. I can't not think about the time. And maybe it's related to the people pleasing thing, right? Because I hate being late or I hate delivering work late. Everything just has to be on time for me. And I'll even get into arguments about being late, or I'll deliver work in that like could be better, but I just want to reach this deadline. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to let people down. And when in reality, probably nobody really even cares if it's a few hours or a day late, right? I've really just become so self-aware when I start like losing my patience in a sense, and I'm really like stressing about time. But I'll take a step back lately, and be like, hang on, this really doesn't matter. Does it really matter that I'm like getting upset over this right now, rushing my fiance out the door just to save 5 minutes? Like, no, it doesn't matter. And most of the time, wherever we're going, we end up being the first ones there anyways. And me being all erratic about being late was for nothing, right? I'm like hauling ass trying to fucking get there. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So I looked into this time addiction a little bit, and I found a relatable idea about being addicted to productivity. In an article that I read, it said in the Western world, our education has often taught us to tie our self-worth to how much we contribute to society. The more we contribute, the better, and being productive feels like a way to improve our self-worth. Then the article proceeded to give 5 signs you may be addicted to productivity. Number one, you don't want to waste any time. Am I creating the greatest amount of value with the time that I can? You know, and I think about this a lot. Like I said, these little small addictions in a day of checking my phone or whatever it is, like that is prohibiting me from being my best, right? So that's one. Number two, you tend to turn hobbies into side projects. For example, this podcast. Instead of me just making a weekly video diary of just me venting about the shit that's going on, I'm turning it into what other people can relate to. I'm thinking about topics that could spark conversation. Should I be leveraging shorts? I'm trying to make this into something bigger than it is. I'm tempted to just go all out on it when I really don't need to, you know? And it doesn't need to be that way. Next one, you feel guilty when you don't hit your targets. Like I just mentioned, I hate the idea of just letting people down. You know, I can't stand it. So I always have to like make people happy. That's my goal, right? Next one, you always make work a priority. I really don't like this about myself. I think for me, work is always in that top priority spot. I'm constantly thinking about my career as a whole and where I need to be headed. And I will sacrifice plans, personal health. I've sacrificed family events just because I need to focus on work. And finally, the last one is you constantly feel busy. I can always just occupy my mind with things that I have to do, and I'm just always stressing out when I don't need to stress out. There's actually a Seinfeld episode where George pretends to look busy and stressed out at work in front of his boss, but he actually has nothing to do, and that way he doesn't get assigned more work. And that's just how I feel. I could have one thing to do, but I could completely just blow it out of proportion and freak out for no reason. But yeah. So, like I said, thankfully, these addictions definitely could be a little worse. There are positives and negatives to each one, I think, but at least I'm able to recognize them and make small steps towards rectifying them as I try to be more productive in my addiction to productivity, apparently. But it's all right. I think a lot of people just battle with their own little individual things that they all want to work on, but it's important to at least notice them and do your best to try to stop them, right? Stop them in their tracks. But that's all I have for today. I'm curious to see if anyone has other little addictions that cause them daily pain as much as mine do. But yeah, good week overall. Nice. It's nice and rainy vibes here in Vegas. So that's kind of a nice change of pace. It's like hurricane monsoon season, but so yeah, it's finally soup season. So that's exciting for me. Get to make some nice stews and soups coming up. So looking forward to that. And other than that, nice long Labor Day weekend. So to all of you working hard out there, keep grinding. You're doing great, and I'm right there with you. But that's all I got for today. So thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, and have a good week. Have a good rest of your day. Whatever it is, just keep going. You're doing great.